and welcome back to the Guillotines Guitar Studio here in Hartsville, South Carolina. Hope everybody's having a great evening. Hard day's work behind you.
Or just ahead of you.
Yep. And what is it we starting out with?
Well, tonight's topics, we're starting off with guillotines, and we have Mr. Robert Howell. We're going to be talking about the Lizard Man. He is the Lizard Man enthusiast. He has a forum on Facebook. Forum.
You got 4 rooms on Facebook?
Forum?
4 rooms?
I should never use that word. I knew I shouldn't have used it. He has a Facebook page. Is it a page?
It's a forum.
It's a
forum.
What?
It's a forum.
I said it.
Forum. Listen to Robert.
It's a forum.
It's a forum.
It's a
Yeah.
good way to word it.
Well, he has
a forearm.
Yeah.
Shit's getting deep already.
I have 2.
You can check him out on Facebook, see what he's got to say about the Lizard Man. He is very endowed in the Lizard Man, and we'll get to that in a minute.
I don't think you know what that word meant.
Anyway, and our guitar subject, that's to be announced.
That's right. We'll tell them later.
We're just flying by the seat of our pants this week, so we'll get back with you on that. Exciting show. Hope everybody's been doing well. Hope everybody's been keeping up with us. Go on YouTube, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button. That'll get us in the good with you, and we'll appreciate you.
That's
Put a
right.
thumbs down, I'll find you. Promise you. All right. Before we do every topic, we do libations.
Yeah. Christen the show.
We
All right.
christen the show.
Libations.
Did you bring some? I hope you brought some.
He did. He got some natural light. that Robert took one. He gave Robert the eye.
All right,
when he asked for one.
Here's what we got tonight. This is something completely different. And since Robert is here and since we're mainly talking about the Lizard Man, from Twisted Shots, this is called Rattlesnake.
Oh, cool.
Look at that.
That's cool.
It looks like it's straight out of Scape Ore Swamp.
That's a nice little touch, Trey.
Keeping up with the reptiles.
Man, Trey be on it, man. He, peanut butter and jelly, Lizard Man and green shots. He's just a Renaissance man.
Now that is
There we go.
perfect for the occasion.
Yeah.
Rattlesnake.
Rattlesnake. All right. Let's see. Yep. Twisted rattlesnakes. I like it. I like the
Okay.
color. You got it, Scott?
I'm thinking it might be.
He needs
think
he needs like
Oh,
a
no. Here we go.
Scott needs a Capri Sun like with stabbed a straw. He always has. Look at it.
There we go. I got it.
And by the time he gets it, there'll be pieces in the drink.
I got it. Got it all.
Yeah, I'll get you a couple little straws next
That's
time
what I
with the
need.
sharp pointy end.
Poke it in.
Oh, okay.
All right. Are you ready?
So what is this? It's got this little divider through the middle of it.
You take it just like that.
Yep.
And you shoot
So that
it
you can
off.
get both of them at the same time.
Yep.
Both at the same time.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
Cheers, fellas.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bottoms up.
That son of a gun had some booze in it, buddy.
Yes,
Whoa.
it did, John. John, that hit me in the back of the throat, John.
Yeah.
I did.
Dare I ask, what's in this?
I don't know, but it's got
That
a little
tasted-
kick to it.
Well,
tastes
you'll
of-
know in about a few minutes.
It had almost like a margarita-ish.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
Yeah.
it bit me.
Yeah.
The rattlesnake bit
When,
me.
when we first shot it, I kind of was thinking like a Jello shot, but then you could taste like the
Yeah.
margarita vibe.
Yeah,
to
that
it.
was
It was
taste the margarita.
That was quite tart.
Yes.
All right.
Oh.
Like I said,
tart, Chris, kind of bitter. and
yeah, it'll bite you.
Yeah.
They got the right name for it, rattlesnake. I'm a snake.
Oh, my God.
I'm a snake.
just in time for Pride Month.
Oh my God! All right, we have Mr. Robert Howell with us. So tell me, how did you get into this deal? What year was it? What you doing? Tell us about it.
Oh, man. It was 1988. I was, 23?
So you were from the very beginning. Then you were
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
From the start. From the very start. I lived in Timmonsville, and word got to me about the Lizard Man. My grandfather happened to see it on the news one night, and he asked me, had I heard about it? And I said, no, what is it? Sounds great. Because he knew I was all into like Boggy Creek and anything like that, you know. I mean, he knew I was all into that, so I immediately just took off over to Bishopville, and it had just started, and there was a Lizard Man Information Center right there at the exit at I-20. They were selling some stickers and hats and things like that. They had the young man there that had seen it in his car.
That was Christopher Davis.
Christopher Davis, yeah. And I just thought it was great, you know, and it kind of led up to me. It kind of led up to me doing that T-shirt that we were discussing earlier. One of the first T-shirts over there.
Yep, that I had, and I had that T-shirt.
A lot of people had that T-shirt.
I saw it. I saw it in.
Is it the one with the tire? Him eating the tire?
And no, there were several of them, of the original ones back in '88. The one that I did, and I'll be honest with you, is politically incorrect now, man. Yeah. but they still sell it. They still sell it over in Bishopville.
And Chris approved that design back then.
Chris approved that one, yeah. And what had happened, and it was kind of a chain of events. And being that we're sitting here talking here, it's kind of funny because it kind of evolved out of something that happened with radio. I had drawn at work a little small comic strip of a friend of mine at work that talked about the Lizard Man. He was all into it as well. And I drew a small comic strip called Everett Meets the Lizard Man, and passed it around work. Everybody loved it. I happened to have a copy of it in the car. And my ex-wife took it to the radio station where she worked at. The DJs took it and began to read it on air every morning at a certain time, like a continuing serial with actors and everything. And it was great, you know, and in my office, everybody stopped every morning. It didn't matter what you were doing. Everybody had to stop to listen to Everett Meets the Lizard Man. And so what happened is I happened to have a copy of that in my car one day when I went to Bishopville. And that's when I met Chris Davis, and they asked me if I would draw them a design for a shirt. And the shirt has the logo, I Ain't Afraid of No Lizard Man, on it, which evolved from Ghostbusters. Yeah. And they basically told me, just draw us a picture of a scared kid, you know, with the lizard man coming at him and his car up on a jack. And so that's what I did. And Chris actually liked it. He saw it. He liked it. The original shirt said his signature on it. And they paid me a fee for that design, and they made buku bucks off of it. But, you know, I just got paid a flat fee for it. But I was 23 years old. I was just tickled to death that anybody wanted to pay me.
That's pretty cool. You have your artwork on a shirt that's being sold
They paid me like $200.
How old was Chris at this time when he approved it? How old was he?
He's probably 16, 17
I think
years old.
Is he still around? Is he?
No, he passed away. He was actually shot it was 2009, somewhere like that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he passed away. And I think it was something that probably wasn't legal. He wasn't a bad kid. When I met Chris, he was very nice. He was a really polite kid.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he saw in that swamp that night. But whatever he saw really scared the hell out of him.
But so did he basically stuck the same story? I mean,
always.
Always
he stuck to the same story. I met him over there, looked at his car with him, and I talked with him, and I tried to get a vibe on him and see if he was just this kid that was getting 15 minutes of fame, or if he was cocky.
So you saw the car?
Yeah, saw the car, and I want to say it was a like a late 70s model Toyota Celica, I want to say. But I saw the marks on the car, and I talked with Chris. He basically told me the same story that he told everybody else. And you could tell he was getting a little tired because he got a lot of attention. I don't think he was ready for the kind of attention that he got, really, because he was just everywhere. They wanted him in parades. They were taking him to Myrtle Beach, Columbia, all over the place. I mean,
and all the reporters, everybody's asking the exact same questions. They wanted to hear the exact same story.
Wanted to hear the same story. He was even supposed to actually be on the Oprah Winfrey show.
Oh, wow.
Right. But it never quite got that far, you know. But he was actually supposed to be there, and he was a really likable young guy. He didn't seem like he was somebody that was just trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes.
Yeah.
Now, if anything, I think that maybe he might have got used as a tool a little bit for marketing for it. But it was such a big thing when it first happened. I mean, there were people from everywhere over there, and he was at the center of all of it. Everybody wanted to talk to him.
But he wasn't even the first one that actually said something about some creature attacking something, right? It wasn't an older couple that their car got torn up, and
that's what a lot of people don't understand. They think Chris was in a way he was, because it was the first big sighting that
he put it in the forefront.
He brought it out. Truesdale, who was the sheriff, Liston Truesdale, who was the sheriff of Lee County at the time, had been called down to Browntown Road, which is right outside of Bishopville, to investigate like a car. A car had been mauled. Whatever it was that got this car had really done a number on it. He had pulled the chrome off the car.
Right.
It had pulled wires out from underneath the car. This report came in. And then a couple of other strange reports were coming in from around Browntown about the same time. And Chris Davis, the night of his encounter, he was so scared when he got home that he would not even get out of his car and go in his house. He actually pulled up in the yard and waited for his family to come out there to him. And he told his father about it, and they waited a couple of days and started to hear these other things coming in from around Scape Ore Swamp and down Browntown Road, and that's when they decided to go to Truesdale and tell him what happened. And that's really kind of what did it, because I don't think it would have gotten as big as it had if Truesdale had not taken it so seriously. Right. Yeah, because he really took it seriously, because you could say what you want, whether the lizard man was a person, a thing, or whatever. Something strange was going on in that swamp that summer.
If he didn't take it serious, if he laughed about it and then something happened and somebody got hurt, that's going to be on him.
There you go. Yeah. So and I mean, he thought it was a bear at first. Everybody tried to blame it on a bear or something.
Yeah, I think I read that where Truesdale said that he wasn't sure what it was. He said it could have possibly been a bear.
Yeah, and
because I think some of the first accounts that Chris said was. It had a lot of mud on it, didn't it?
Right. It's when Chris saw it, I mean, of course, it was dark and it was 2 in the morning.
2 in the morning.
But the way the name the Lizard Man was born is, Chris saw this thing coming at him across the field, and of course, he couldn't see very clearly, but he knew it didn't look like you or I running at him across the field, okay? When the thing gets up to the car, and when he jumped in the car, it basically leapt on the side of the car, and he specifically mentioned seeing 2 red glowing eyes. He saw a 3-clawed hand reach down over the windshield right above his head, and he described it as having skin that looked wet and kind of scaly. And that's where the Lizard Man story kind of came from, because when the press got wind of it, they kind of played up the scaly, wet-looking skin thing of it. And over the years, it's kind of evolved into the Lizard Man we picture in our minds. I mean, if anything, what this thing was probably like a misidentified Bigfoot. Let's just say something was there and this did happen. It was probably something like that had been in the swamp and probably did have a greenish tint to it. I mean, it probably wasn't a lizard walking upright, you know what I'm saying? But the way the press grabbed a hold to it, it just evolved into Lizard Man, and that's kind of how we get the image of him we think in our mind today.
Yeah. Well, back in 2015, there was a video of a supposed lizard man.
Oh.
The one that it actually, I mean, it looks like somebody walking in a suit.
Okay.
I spotted the lizard man.
I'm going to tell you the same thing I've told everybody who's asked me about that photo. That picture to me is the worst thing that ever happened to the legend of the Lizard Man.
That's when I saw it. That's what I thought. I was like,
it was
that
so
one even
obvious.
made it to Stephen Colbert on his show. They shared it there, and I was like, come on.
That is the thing. And what happens is you have this story, and it's been around for years and years, and these things pop up over the years, and people want to get attention. And when I saw that photograph, because I'll be honest, over the years, this thing happened when I was 23, And, it was pretty much all over the place that summer. And ever since then, anytime the lizard man is brought up in the news or anywhere, somebody will call me or email me and say, hey, did you hear about the lizard man? He's in the news again. And I'm like, okay, and when I saw that picture, it was so obviously a joke. I mean, I used to see Ultraman episodes that had more realistic looking.
Oh yeah. The Godzilla, the old Godzilla from the.
I mean, it
70s.
it was ridiculous.
It was,
and it put it kind of put a damper on it. But see, that's the kind of thing that makes people want to make fun of Bishopville or make you look like an idiot or.
That was a pretty bad one, but sometimes you feel like it's cool that something brings it back.
Right.
It's unfortunate that brought it back.
It's cool that it brought it back in 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
And a couple of years before that, a couple had a Dodge Caravan that actually
the Marshall family
ripped up. I think it was Marshall.
2011.
It got ripped up pretty bad. I mean, it looked bad. And apparently, there was a box of kittens in the yard, and they weren't there anymore either, from what I heard. But that
snackaroos.
Of course, that anytime anything odd happens in Bishopville or Lee County, it gets blamed on the lizard man.
Absolutely.
I mean, to this day, and so it's just such a it's woven into the fabric, I guess, of that community over there now.
Always will.
It's been around.
Is,
even here.
It's just like Harry and Harry 2's restaurant.
Right.
They
Yeah.
incorporated that into. I mean,
Why wouldn't
they
you?
had the big sign.
Well, Harry.
They had the sign. Even the lizard man likes Harry
Right.
and Harry 2. You know what I mean? It's beautiful. Publicity for him. I mean, it's.
And I was talking to Harry just this past weekend, and I said, you put that sign up in 2007. I said, and who would have thought that all these years later, that there's kind of been a resurgence in interest for the lizard man, because there has been, and it kind of started around 2018, but there has been a big resurgence in the interest of him. And you'd be amazed at people that have emailed me or called me from California or places just to ask me questions about it. And, you got skeptics and you got people that believe in it. The thing is, I mean, there are a lot of people interested in that,
Oh, man, I'm told it's deep in my family, they believe any damn thing. But, coming up, it was my grandma mainly. She's crazy about the lizard man. She would always, her house is right down the road, like literally a couple of houses down from the house I lived in, and I'd bike over there at night time. She'd, be careful, that lizard man, he come out and get you. And I'm like,
there you go.
Lizard man.
Well, so I camped all the time. When I always do. I've camped forever. But when this whole thing started, I was 11 years old.
This your dad's story?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
So I'm 11 years old, and immediately when when they got the footprints, the plaster, they did the footprints and all that. So we grew up in Hartsville. We're 15 minutes from there. So my dad gets up. Hey, we're going to go find the lizard man. I go look, because everybody else from around the world is, right? So we've only got 15 minutes to go. So we drive up there. We go. I remember going to the police station. They had 2 plaster prints there.
Right.
So I saw them before they were in the museum over there in Bishopville or wherever they're at now, but with the butter beans all around them. But so went to the police station. I remember seeing them there. I remember seeing pictures that they had in there, and I can't remember where they were, of damage done to cars and some other pictures. But for me, the 10 or 11-year-old, that was really cool to see these plaster footprints and see how big it was. It's like, wow, that's out there. My dad's like, well, I know where we're going. We're going out toward the Scape Ore swamp, and we're going to go look for it. And so we did. And so we went. My dad took me out there, and I'm thinking to myself now, looking back, going, "What are you doing? Like, what would we do if he was there? Yeah, and we're just walking by myself." But then I thought, what my dad would have done if he thought about it, was actually have somebody, a friend of his, hiding in the woods waiting for us to come.
That would have been great.
To jump out and scare me. That didn't happen. So I'm surprised it didn't happen knowing him, because I get the pranks that I put on Chris. I get that from my dad. I totally see him doing that. But we were there, and we weren't going there to go, oh, we're going down, this is going to be some, what a joke, it's all fake and it's not real. When this stuff was going on here locally, and you know this too, it was real.
It was taken very
This was
seriously.
spooky, and this was like a really big deal. And so we took it very, very serious.
Oh, yeah.
We were excited to go into those woods and go into the swamp and hope to see something. What happened when we saw it, we don't know. But we were going to go find out. So we were going to go see a blurry Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, you probably would have wound up having to change your underwear is what would have happened. You know, I wanted to see him terribly too, but I would have probably done the same thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you find out a place is haunted and you get the nerve to go up. You want to see the ghost. You're scared of what's going to happen when you see the ghost, but you want to go because you want to see the ghost. We wanted to go see a lizard man that was 7 feet tall and was going to rip our heads off. You know?
Well, my grandparents loved it. And the thing is, I am genetically inclined to believe in that. I want to think that there's, Bigfoots. I want
other stuff out there.
I like to think that there's still something that we don't know about.
Sure.
I mean, it might sound corny, but the thing is,
that's why I'm scared of everything. I still believe all this stuff is out there.
Right. I mean, it's just like, you can't prove. I mean, can you prove it? No, but you can't not prove it either. Right. I mean, some people will say, well, you can't prove a negative. Well, I mean, it's just a type of person you are.
There's still stuff in the ocean.
People have never seen.
We haven't.
I was about to bring up that exact thing.
Never seen.
I mean, so.
And they look completely like something you can't even dream up.
Right.
They don't look like anything. If you were to say, hey, get a piece of paper and write down some completely weird thing that doesn't have to make sense.
Like it'd be the scariest thing.
It doesn't have to have gills.
You can find some of that depth of the deepest oceans.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't have to have gills. Doesn't have to have fins. Doesn't have to have anything that you know of that lives in the ocean, and draw it up. And then you come up with something, but no, they're going to find something for real that's even more wild than you could have thought.
Right. And I mean, and over the years, there's so many like Bigfoots, and you got Mothman, you got the Bigfoot, you've got
Mothman. I forgot all about
Mothman up in Point Pleasant. Yeah, they have a huge festival up there every year. I mean, it's gigantic, and I would love to see the one in Bishopville get that big. Yeah. I mean, but it is super huge. Well, and Mothman is a pretty freaky story. I mean, you can say what you want, and look, it happened back in the late '60s. So the Lizard Man actually happened in '88, so it's not as long ago. And it having a resurgence now is not that big a thing. I mean, that Mothman has endured for a long time. They have Bigfoot festivals in certain towns in North Carolina. Yeah. They have
North Carolina, Virginia. I see the stuff when I go up to the mountains. There's always something going on. There's an event. A Bigfoot event, a Sasquatch event. There's something around and you see all the cutouts, and you see those around here too. You see the cutouts of the lizard man,
more
Bigfoot,
so
the Sasquatch stuff.
I travel in North Carolina a lot too, and I constantly see at stores and everywhere.
It's usually a black silhouette of him walking.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it. Everybody loves it
in North Carolina, and I don't remember what town it was. I saw a bar that was named Bigfoot something, and it had the Bigfoot drinking a beer, holding a beer in his hand on their the outside sign. I'm like, they take the stuff seriously, I
wish they would do that around here, like you said, like the Lizard Man. They should have festivals.
Well, it's funny you should say that.
Funny you should mention
because Robert, do you know anything about a festival that is Lizard Man themed?
I seem to have heard something about it.
All of a sudden, there he is. Why don't y'all just say there he is, Chris?
Oh, there. No, I'm not going to say it. But Robert, if you have anything to add to this, please.
There seems to be a little small festival called the Lizard Man Stomp that they have in Bishopville, and we're starting year number 3, and it has grown from like 500 people to over 1,000 people. We're hoping to have over 2,000 this year. Nice. And it's still in the fledgling stages. So
what date is this? You got one planned already?
It's going to be June 29th.
It's in two weeks.
Like you said,
what are we doing?
This is the 3rd season of it. So I mean,
I'll be there.
One.
We had a lot of people come.
I'm free.
Last year too. We had podcasters stop by last year. There was a huge crowd.
Oh my God, this is crazy in the middle.
Well, yeah, I mean it. Well,
wait a minute. What in the little town of Bishopville? That's what we're doing.
The Lizard Man laid this whole story. It kind of lay dormant for years. I mean, whatever happened that summer in 1988, it came up. It was a huge thing. It was as you said, it was all around the world. It was even in newspapers in Korea. I mean, the stories just spread everywhere.
Yeah, well, I think I remember seeing like 100 news organizations from all over the world reported
Right.
on it back then when it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
CNN.
not only countrywide, it was worldwide.
Right.
I mean, it was all over.
Headline news, CNN, we're down there in the swamp. Truesdale, I met Truesdale once when I was like 24 or so, and he told me that it looked like a Clemson-Carolina game was going on down there in the Scape Ore swamp. He said he had people call him and ask him on the phone if Bishopville had an international airport because they wanted to fly in from overseas. And he's like, and then some people look at us like we're crazy over here, but, they're the ones flying over here from all over the world. And,
putting on their shiny aluminum foil hats because somebody said that he was
that is
attracted
exactly
to shiny
what
things.
happened. That's exactly what happened. The guy thought it would draw him out of the woods.
Yep.
That's exactly what happened.
See, I remember that. We did not wear our shiny hat. That's shiny stuff. That's why we didn't see him when we were in the woods.
But earlier you were asking about if Chris was the first one. Chris had his encounter that night, and when he went to Truesdale about it, and Truesdale started looking into it and took it so seriously, of course, it became a big thing. That's when the radio stations in Columbia were offering $1 million if you caught the Lizard Man. Jim Nesbitt wrote that song, "The Lizard Man," of $1 million bounty in Lee County for the Lizard Man. And what else did we have here? It was just all over the place, and so other people that had actually seen something odd that with the risk of looking like an idiot didn't want to say anything. They decided, well, maybe we should say something. And so the thing is, everybody that came forward, which there were Frank Mitchell, George Plyler, George Holloman. There was an unidentified guy from Shaw Air Force Base who was kind of high up in rank and didn't want his name to be revealed. All these people came forward after Chris's report and told their story about something that had happened to them. And these were people that were like our grandpas. These were older guys.
Yeah.
These were
people you trusted.
These were credible people.
Yeah.
These were not people that would even believe in something like this, that wanted to be on the news. And so that is another thing that added a lot of credibility to the story.
Yeah. Well, Chris didn't come forward right away, did he?
No, he waited a couple of days. He when he got home, he was so scared. Like I said, he had to get his family to come out to his car. He talked to his dad about it, and his dad convinced him to go a couple of days after it happened.
Yeah.
So by the time it hit the newspapers, it had already probably happened about a week before. But I mean, he did take 2 polygraph tests, and he did pass those.
Wow.
And so that's one thing that and the prints. Some people have said that they sent the prints to this lab or that lab, some footprint expert, and they're saying, well, no animal could make the weight distribution, blah, 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 Charlie Brown school teacher crap. That's just, some of them said the prints were faked. Some of them look more realistic than others. They may, they could have been, but the thing is, the officers that found the prints had been going down a dirt road called Bramlett Road. They saw a trash can turned over as if a bear or something had been in it, tearing it up. And they go on down a little ways, and they turn around and go back up. Well, there's the tracks, and they weren't there 15 minutes before. So, I mean, if somebody's out there hoaxing with these footprints on their feet, you're telling me they're just sitting there casually kind of waiting in the woods for the cops to ride by so they can make these footprints? And then
do them that quick.
Do it that quick, and then
without leaving any other footprints.
And the impressions were in the ground so deep that the officers tried to recreate them, and they couldn't get the amount of weight they would have needed to do it. And another thing is the bloodhounds would only go so far. They took bloodhounds into the woods. The bloodhounds stopped. They went so far and they quit. They wouldn't go any further.
Smart hounds.
So something had them freaked.
My ass would have been out of there.
Right.
I turn around and I see these tracks.
Well, that's it.
I'm a believer right then.
Well,
don't give a damn about hoax. There's something out there that I don't understand. I'm headed that way.
Well,
away from the damn prints.
It was such a fun summer, though. My friends and I would go over there. We'd be drinking beer. We'd ride around. We'd get in our car. We'd go down this road in the swamp.
Oh, you're so crazy.
We'd go down there at 11 o'clock at night. We roll down the windows. We're sitting back there just trying to hear something, and I guarantee you, if you drink enough beer and
Oh,
you
yeah.
sit there with the windows down, you're going to hear something, and you're going to let's get the hell out of here.
Oh, my God.
And it happens with all the places that you go to, like where you're supposed to hear a baby crying, or you're supposed to hear this
Right.
person. Well, after a while, you do hear it. You
Right.
You
Yeah,
don't know
you
for
do
sure
start
that's
hearing
what that is, but you hear
Yeah.
something. It's just like seeing something. You'll see a figure if you're looking for a figure. And
Right.
looking in the woods in the dark and in the daytime. You'll see something if you're looking for something.
If you're looking hard enough, you'll see it.
Even if you went to a Colonel Cobb's tomb when you're drunk with 700 people in your car and trade, look, what is that?
No, that was you screaming like a baby because a possum ran out in front of you.
I thought the Colonel Cobb was after me, man.
We hadn't even gotten to Colonel Cobb's tomb yet.
That's him.
We hadn't even got there yet. We're just driving through the dirt road, and he screams like a little girl and almost wrecks us. And he's like, "That was it. That was him."
But man, that's what fascinated me so much about it as a kid, because my mom and them took me to see Legend of Boggy Creek at like the old Palmetto Drive-In or something.
Heard of that.
Well, I mean, it's an old 70-something Bigfoot movie, and it's cheaply
Boggy
made.
Creek. Yeah.
It's cheaply made, but for some reason, when I still watch it, the movie still gives me the creeps because it's shot kind of amateurish. Not amateurish. It's shot very well, actually, but it's kind of, they use like real people in this little town in Falk, Arkansas, the real witnesses.
Yeah.
And they're, they sound so hokey on camera, but it adds a little bit to the realism.
It adds more, yeah.
It actually adds to the realism factor of it. And there's still something about that movie that just gets under my, it's still got a creep factor to it. I mean, it's got a couple of hokey parts, but it's still, that movie stuck with me, and I tell people all the time, I had my entire second grade class convinced that we had a Bigfoot in the woods behind my school. Because
That's awesome.
we saw a shadow or something.
You're like the local Orson Welles, right?
Yeah, Fox Mulder or something, whatever. But I was so convinced that I saw something that I took all my friends up to the fence, and there was a tree line across a field behind my elementary school. And
you see it?
Well, if you look hard enough, just
Yeah.
like you said, you'll see it.
Absolutely.
It was probably a shadow, but we were so immersed
Or
in
just
that.
a tree that was shaped just right.
And that movie was out, and it was very popular at the time. We were coming to school bringing egg crates from home, taking samples. We were walking around with tweezers taking samples.
That's
and trying, like we were little scientists and everything. It got so bad to the point we weren't paying attention in class. The principal actually had to come down there and tell us that there was no Bigfoot in the woods behind our elementary school.
Well, of course he would say that because he doesn't want you to find it before he does.
No, he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. Before. We knew what was that. But nah, I grew up preconditioned to love this kind of stuff. So, in finding out that we had a small town monster around here, I just thought it was the greatest thing in the world. But that summer, I think that whatever the Lizard Man I think that it was here for a while. I think because so many odd things happened that summer, I think whatever it was, that it was here and that it moved on and is no longer here. Do I think that there is a Lizard Man in Scape Ore Swamp today? No, I really don't. But I do think something was going on in that swamp the summer of '88. Because people say, well, if he's still there, he'd be 35 or 36 years old. I'm like, okay, crap. If he was there.
Hey, a sea turtle lives the
I know.
freaking,
Oh,
might
yeah.
have been one of his cousins.
And that's
what it was.
That swamp is so deep and so dark up in there. You probably couldn't fly a drone in there or hardly do anything in there. So there may be parts of that swamp that nobody's ever been able to get to.
I was actually thinking about that today because you can't cover every inch of it. You never, and you definitely couldn't back then. And even if you had things like a modern technology, like a drone that has the infrared, the heat signature video.
Right.
If it's reptilian, it's cold-blooded, so it's not going to show up on it because it's not going to be warmer than the surrounding.
No.
So,
Right.
I mean, how would you find anything in something that big?
Let's send Chris out there.
Huh? What's in yeah.
Chris out there.
I can see he can't even open a cooler with a snake in it.
What's that little kid? I bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. But wasn't there a hoax card that was torn all the way, like really shredded, like overly shredded? That
That
You know what I'm talking
was
about?
it a van? Was it a Dodge?
Yeah, and had like really deep like lacerations.
The Dodge Caravan. That was probably around 2015 or 16, and that was on the news. And actually, that started another wave of lizard man mania. And
that was in Bishopville?
Yeah, it was in Bishopville, and I can't remember the lady's name, but I do remember they went out there and tried to recreate that damage with like chainsaws and power tools.
Oh wait, that was from a TV show series thing that they
maybe it was.
I watched that, and I was actually disappointed in the way they did that show. I didn't really like it because they interviewed Liston, they interviewed one of the families, but they only showed like 30 seconds of this interview from both of them, and that drove me crazy because I was like, do you realize these are important people to the story and the history of the lizard man?
Oh yeah,
you only showed them for 30 seconds.
Right.
And the rest is like, okay, well, we're going to go to a firing range and shoot guns to see if they match the holes that from the pictures of the damage.
They're just they're out to debunk it. And and there are people that
all it did was make me mad that they were doing it in that way.
So that the van, was it at the lady's house? I mean, she wasn't in the van when it happened.
No. She was in her house. I mean, and
so she didn't. She come back out and saw it.
This is the lady that had allegedly had the kittens in a box or something outside, and all the cats were gone the next morning too. And there was something around that time, too, about some animals being found mutilated around there. But, that was 2016 or so. So that was when everything got blamed on the lizard man. Because in 88, when everything happened, a couple of years later, there was a lady from over in Bishopville, and her and her family claimed that something came out in front of their car and scared them to death. And it's kind of odd because the reports are online. You can read them, and everybody in that car, her children, her, and her passenger included, all gave the same description of what they saw. And but nobody's had any luck reaching this lady or talking to her about it because, it's just like with Chris Davis's family. It's some people don't want to talk about the lizard man, but it's the same if you go to Falk, Arkansas, and talk about the Boggy Creek monster. It depends on the kind of person you are. You got some people that think people are going to think you're a stupid redneck. And then you got some people that are going to be fascinated by it. But the thing is, I mean, it's a great story. I mean, who else has this?
And when you don't know, it's even more exciting because it could be, but maybe it's probably not, but it could be. Like that kind of feeling.
Think of that. Like the lady and her family talking about that, they saw something that she's probably, worried about that. Like if some national news comes to talk to her, she's like, I don't want to look like a fool talking about something because I know they're going to twist it and say, oh, here's somebody who believes in some fairy tale thing. I mean, you get people who are like that who they don't want to talk to people because it's like, I don't want to look like that. I mean, and even who knows what they saw.
I've caught that over the years from different people, and it all depends. I've got friends of mine that they see the world black, white. They don't think there's any gray. Yeah. I'm one of those guys that likes to believe that there's some gray out there, because the world would be pretty boring if there wasn't.
Yeah.
And I have always told people that regardless of the lizard man, I mean, there's several different stories, and we could talk about that as far as what it could have been, but regardless of the fact, like we said earlier, it's so ingrained in Bishopville and Lee County now that it's just part of the folklore of the area, I mean, people will talk about it for years to come.
And why not embrace it? I mean,
why not embrace it?
Like, I know that's the bill, so that's about time to wrap it up. But I did want to
unless you take it another 20 or 30 minutes. But go ahead.
No, it's gonna be a quick word. About the Lizard Man Stomp Festival.
The Lizard Man Stomp.
So have you been a part of it all 3 years, or 2 years? And
yes, sir. We had a fella come over to Bishopville back in 2018, and there was an event. It was called a Lizard Man Festival, but it wound up not really being a Lizard Man Festival. I mean, it was more like a Comic-Con that kind of used the name, and I love Comic-Cons. I have no problem with it. I love it. I'm a huge fan. But I started thinking about it, and I happened to meet some like-minded folks in Bishopville, and I said, nobody else in South Carolina has this. I said, it's a great story. I said, you're going to have people say, oh, you're just doing it to do this or sell T-shirts or make money. But the thing is, it's a great story. A lot of people have an interest in it. So I'm like, why not let the town embrace it?
Yeah. Right.
And so, we started the festival, and it took a while to get it off the ground because of COVID. The first year we had it in a parking lot behind the Chamber of Commerce. The second year it moved to Main Street, and we blocked off 2 streets. And we're on the third year. They're blocking off 2 blocks. We're going to have a parade. We're gonna have entertainment. We're going to have some vendors with some unusual stuff. Some ghost hunters from Savannah will be there.
Cool.
And so it's going to be a big event.
And I'll be there selling. I'll have some merchandise from my Lizard Man Lounge.
I'm planning on being there.
And,
me too.
And it's usually, it's been a lot of fun, but I'll be honest, it's so busy that, when it starts that morning, it's all over with before I know it. And so many people came through there. I mean, it's
June 29th.
It's June 29th. And
what time?
It starts at 10 a.m. and it runs to 2. It's just a 4-hour event right now. We're trying to extend it and make it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And we're going to just kind of see how the crowd grows. I mean, it's not as commercial now, but we're going to see where it takes us in the years to come, So right now we're keeping it kind of small with a lot of,
Tell you what, if anything that we can do to help this grow, I'm in. I'm telling you.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's a great thing.
I'm excited.
It's a great story, and it's something no other town in South Carolina has got. And I've just always kind of had a love for it,
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
And it just, regardless of what started the legend, if the Lizard Man, some people say, and Harry Elmore, his family is tied in close with the Lizard Man because a lot of people discuss that his, I think it was his uncle or his grandfather may have been trying to scare some people away from his butter being shed. And, hey, it doesn't, it wouldn't surprise me. I love to scare people too. But the thing is, I don't think at his age he would have been running 30 miles an hour to jump on a car and hang on to it or hanging around down in the swamp like that. So for every thing you find that contradicts the story, then there'll be a point B that makes you go, well, wait a minute, that's weird. So it's a gray area in there. But to me, like I said, it doesn't matter if the Lizard Man was Monster Man, whatever. The Lizard Man will always live in a Scape Ore swamp as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
That is.
That's good stuff.
Have you heard any, from like the festival, what's the weirdest or wildest story you've heard about the Lizard Man from like somebody who claims they might have seen it or something? Is there...
I have talked to some people that have come up to the booth and said, well, my aunt says she saw the Lizard Man, or my grandmother says she saw it. But Phil Stokes, who's one of the only surviving officers that found those tracks originally, he's told me some stories about some things down in the swamp, and he told me about how it was the day they found those tracks, and it was pretty scary. He just, a lot of people don't like to go down there to that swamp at night. It's a scary swamp. It really is.
There's things out there that live in them woods that make a strong man die for fright.
Yep. You better not go at night.
That was on time.
I got a photo here that you might recognize. You may have never seen this actual photo before, but you may have. This is Lee County Sheriff Liston Truesdale.
Liston, that's him.
Talking about the length of the stride of the Lizard Man steps. I'll hold this up on this camera here. So, actually, I can just put it over. So this photo is from the Houston Chronicle Library. This is the actual photo document from the file Lizard Man. So I'm gonna let you have this and take it home with you when you.
Oh my God!
When you leave. You can frame it or sell it or burn it, whatever you want to do.
No, I'll tell you what that.
Actually, you see the Carolina Gamecock sign back there.
We are trying to enlarge the area in the front of the South Carolina Cotton Museum that has a Lizard Man display.
Yeah.
And,
well, I want to donate that to you.
That would be a welcome addition. I thank you very much for that.
That's
cool.
That's good. Good deal there, Trey.
Awesome.
How'd you do that?
Don't worry about it.
You didn't steal that,
I'm gonna leave you guys a couple of Lizard Man goodies too.
Hey, I do what?
You didn't steal that, did you?
I'm gonna cut this part out of the show completely. Nothing to see here.
All right, we're running out of time here. Right quick, Ronnie. Tell people how to get in touch with you online, and you got a website or?
Well, if you just go to, we don't really have a website. We just have a Facebook page. I have a Facebook page. It's called Robert Howell's Lizard Man Lounge. And that page is mostly about the Lizard Man and the history of the Lizard Man. And the Lizard Man Stomp has its own Facebook page as well that has information about the festival, the date, the time, how you can be a part of it, or just all about anything you would need to know about it. But it's June 29th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. The parade starts at 10, and the rest, then the fun starts after the parade. So hope you can come out there to it. I think
cool.
it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think I'll be
awesome.
there. I think I'll be there.
I think
It'll
we've
be
all
a
learned
lot
a
of
lot.
fun.
I've already got it on my calendar. I mean, I'm going. I will be there.
Hey, we need all the lizard lovers we can get.
Absolutely.
No.
Well, we'll see you there. We thoroughly enjoyed
Not lot
this
lizards,
episode.
but lizard lovers.
A lot of lizards.
See what I did there?
Robert, thank you so much for coming on. I know I've been bugging you for a little while to get on
right.
here. I'm so glad that everything worked out, and so glad to have you here. It's been awesome, and I love these stories. Thank you so much.
Glad to be here, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that's all for tonight. We thank you. We'll see you on the next segment for guitars. We'll be right back with you. Some guillotines and guitars. And we're out. He always gets me like that.
I'm just kidding.
Yep.
I'm just kidding. The camera's on me now.
Everywhere.